Gary Patterson. Gary Patterson. TCU's all-time winningest head coach. One of the best head coaches of this century, bar none. He's got to be up there. Top 5? Sure. He said on the Matt Mosley show last week on ESPN Central Texas, of which I also work for, said, I'm not done, Matt. I'm ready to coach. I am ready to coach again. I've got a staff. I'm ready to go. Was canned at TCU in 2021. Special assistant at the University of Texas in 2022. On the golf course this year. 63 years old. He's got some good years left in him. He said, I've got a lot more games. I've got more wins left in me. So I think there are some schools that should be looking at a guy like Gary Patterson. And yeah, I think Baylor probably should be one of them. Now, this got a lot of backlash from people on Twitter throughout the last few days, not only from the Matt Mosley interview, but from Connor Martin, former Baylor kicker, who said, yeah, I would take Gary Patterson at TCU. Got dragged in the replies. These Baylor fans, these Baylor Twitter fans do not want him. Why? Why not? This guy is a slam dunk Hall of Famer, 180 wins to his name and only 79 losses in over 20 seasons as a head coach. Hell yeah, I'll take him. Of course I'll take him. We got to remember what Gary did up at TCU, man. I mean, we know what Art did here at Baylor. Gary did it for even longer and scandal-free. How about this? Just looking at, let's start with the defense, right? Defensive genius, okay? And we talked about this horrid defensive performance Baylor had on Saturday and have had for the last 2 years. Well, how about this? In 9 full seasons in the Big 12. I'm not counting the Mountain West because his numbers are going to look even better there. But since he moves to the Big 12, Gary Patterson, in 2012, 9 seasons, they were in the top half of the Big 12 in points scored, points against per game in every season. Every season. Can Baylor say that? No. Got more Big 12 championships, but they can't say that. And looking at it too, 2021, Baylor had the best defense in the conference. We knew that. And it was back and forth all year between Baylor and Oklahoma State, 2 of the best defenses in the country all year long. So a natural answer would be from you when I ask you who was number 2 in the Big 12 in points against per game that year, you'd say Oklahoma State, and third isn't even close. You would be wrong. Texas Christian, the school formerly known as Texas Christian, was number 2 in the conference in points against per game that year. Gary, yeah. He is a defensive genius. And then back to my former point of we saw what Art did to turn around Baylor, a program that, you know, for at least the last 15 years before him was dreadful. But for most of their history, it's not glowing, right? Well, TCU's is the same way until the year 2000 when a guy named Gary Patterson was promoted to head coach. So let's look at this. How about this for a stat? TCU did not appear in the AP poll at all, between 1960 and 1984. Okay, they were ranked in 1984 at one point in the season, wasn't in the final rankings, and then they didn't appear again. So 1984, and then in 1990 they appear, and then not again until the year 2000. That sounds familiar, Cam. That sounds like the year you told me Gary Patterson took over as head coach. Darn right. Because after that, these are the final rankings that TCU had each of those years. Okay, not just some point in the regular season, the final rankings that TCU had every year of Gary Patterson. 21st, 23rd, 25, 11, 22nd. They didn't get ranked the next year. And then Gary goes 7, 6, 2, 14. But then he doesn't get a final ranking the next 2 years. Oh, yeah. Those were his first 2 years in the Big 12, switching from the Mountain West to the Big 12. And then 3, 7, not ranked, then 9th at TCU. This is what the record should be at Texas and Notre Dame and USC for a downslide. Those schools didn't have that. Didn't have that, brother. TCU did because of Gary Patterson. Gary freaking Patterson. So if you're doing the math on how many numbers I just gave you, that means just one time in his almost 22 seasons at the helm did they not appear in the AP poll at all. One time. That's as many times as Dave Aranda has done it this season. Baylor hadn't appeared at all this year. They didn't appear at all in 2020. They were out pretty quickly in 2022. Didn't appear in it at all in 2018 under Matt Rule. Obviously not in 2017 under Matt Rule. Last 4 games this season, you didn't appear in it in 2016. So that's what I'm trying to say is that level of consistency doesn't even come around at Baylor in their best decade. And no scandal whatsoever, what to speak of. His biggest scandal was that he just hated Art Briles and would kind of make things up. I will agree with that. He would say that Baylor players like flipped him the bird or something. That didn't happen. But because he was mad online, that's the biggest scandal he's got. And Baylor fans don't want him because, I don't know, he's sweaty. Because he didn't like the most shamed head coach in Baylor history. That's why we don't want him? Because he coached 100 miles up to the north and made them one of the most relevant programs in college football the last 20 years out of the complete doldrums. That's why you don't want him? Give me a break. Sack up. Let's win some football games and not risk the lives of and the well-being of our females on campus while doing it. Come on. I just don't get it. Why some Baylor fans don't want him. Now, if you use the argument, hey, Cam, he's 63 and he's starting over, and he hadn't really coached in the NIL and transfer portal era, okay, that's fine. I'll take that argument. I'm not going to – I think it's okay. You know, NIL hasn't been around there forever, but and I know there were programs out there that could promise fame and fortune and everything that went with it for years and for decades. TCU wasn't one of them. I'm talking about the big boys in the conference that are heading out the door, Texas and Oklahoma. Okay, so they out-recruited Gary Patterson over those years. So freaking what? Gary Patterson went toe-to-toe and beat them on the damn football field every year. He developed the talent. I don't think he'll have any trouble developing talent. Even if he's got to recruit a new team every year. He was recruiting guys to come to the Mountain West. Coached the year of LaDainian Tomlinson, a Hall of Famer. Brought in Andy Dalton, the quarterback from Katy, which if you're outside of Texas, you don't know. Katy carries some serious weight here in high school football. It's one of the top programs in the nation. Brought that kid to TCU, and all they did was win the damn Rose Bowl from the Mountain West and have 2 top 5 finishes, including number 2 in the nation in 2010. And you don't want him here? Give me a break. Give me a freaking break and give me Gary Patterson at TCU. Now, would he want to come here? I don't know. He hates Baylor. He'll play patty cake with Mac Rhodes, I'm sure, but he doesn't like Baylor still. But that's not the question. The question is, would you take him? 11 times out of 10, I'd take that guy. And I'd win some damn football games.